Hello, everybody, and welcome to, well, it's not actually the Wednesday show. It's Friday with the Minions of the Zoo. So what am I doing here? Our favorite Spurg Sanguine is out saving the world from evil. So we volunteered to jump in and hold down the fort for him. I, of course, am Hammer, and I'm joined by one of the very first Minions, Lucky Pop-Tart.
Hello.
And my other half of the Wednesday show, Genty Maxie.
Hello.
How you doing, Jen?
I'm cursed by YouTube.
You're what? Good. You're pissed by YouTube?
No, cursed.
Cursed? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I can believe it. YouTube's kind of funky. How you doing, Poppy?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah?
How are you doing?
I am actually pretty good. Usually my Fridays are kind of like a day to rest. But been busy today. Got a lot of stuff done. I'm pretty happy. I ran out of tape, though. Jen knows what I'm talking about.
Okay.
My brother came up. Jen, I already talked to Jen about this. My brother came up to pack up some boxes and stuff for coats and blouses and stuff from my mom. She passed last October. I've been trying to clean the house up. And he came up from his house, about 3-hour drive, and brought some boxes with him and wanted to, stuff boxes full of clothes for his girlfriend and to send to Salvation Army. So he's like, oh, look at my boxes. And he put in the box together. He says, do you have any tape? And I was like, yeah. And I handed him the packing tape thing. And he went to seal the bottom of the box. And there was only about 3 inches of tape left.
Oh, no.
So it went zip. I was like, he just kind of looked at me like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? I didn't know. I wasn't paying attention to it. Who looks at that kind of stuff? And then I realized I didn't have any extra tape in the house. So I ordered some tape and it came today, and I sent him a picture and I said, don't worry, next time, buddy, I got you covered. So he's happy. Anyway, before we get to the topics, let's go ahead and say hello to everybody in chat this evening. Usually Terry does this, but Terry's not with us because he was supposed to be on the corner, but he is not on the corner. He is in chat because he's a stud. People in chat, Quippers United, which means we probably should end the stream right now. Rotten Corpse, Frosted Glass. Hammer killed Terry. No, I did not kill him. He's right here in chat. And then Green Badger Outdoors, because he's not on Rumble, where he would be Green Badger Indoors. And Grand Inquisitor Tyr is here. And our favorite bunny girl, Mashisu, is here as well. So, hello everybody and welcome to the chat. Let me go ahead and go over our topics for the evening. We've got 3 listed. I have actually 4 because I always have a backup. The first one is DACA Caca. And this is the fact that a federal judge has decided that DACA is illegal. And so DACA might be ending. I don't know if people are going to get shipped back, but who knows what's going to happen next. The second topic is Cavalconte. This is Daniela Cavalconte, the guy who was on the run from the police for, almost 2 weeks. They listed his information on the arrest warrant, and he is listed as being a white person. We'll discuss. And then finally, X-14 is not a new airplane by the military. Women, this is something I put on here specifically because I know Poppy's going to yell at me about it. That's why I put it on here. Women want 6-foot+ men, but that's only about 14% of the population. And that 14% is men. That number becomes significantly smaller when you talk about straight men, which is what that's entitled to. Also, the fourth one, which I've been kind of keeping in reserve here, is called 3 strikes. I just found out on Twitter, not half an hour before the show, that the accusers of kidnapping Gretchen Whitmer just got acquitted. So the 3 men that were supposedly on trial, or actually were on trial, were kidnapping her. The plot to kidnap her, that never happened. All 3 were acquitted, not guilty.
And yet a guy who wasn't even there on January 6th is going to be in jail for how many years? Like 22?
22 years, yeah. Yeah,
Like,
that was a leader of the Proud Boys, right?
I keep saying Banana Republic because I don't know that we're necessarily there, but I think we kind of are.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a different country, so maybe you have a little bit more. I mean, you said no to New Mexico, so maybe.
Yeah. Oh, there's another thing going with Mexico. They also, their governor there who wanted to suspend the Second Amendment, that was also turned down by judicial proxy. Their judge there said, no, you can't do this against the Constitution. So looks like the judges are cutting a lot of people some breaks, especially against what I would consider tyrants in both cases. Oh, some more people in chat. OG Costin's in chat.
Hi,
Welcome.
everybody.
And the Assassin of the Gray, who never comes to the Wednesday show anymore, but does make it to the Friday show.
Ooh.
Naughty, naughty. Assassin of the Gray, I linked the show across the Discord. Minions got you covered. I appreciate that, Assassin.
Yeah, normally I would put it up on Twitter that I'm streaming, but I'm on my phone, so if I close this out to pull it up, it will kick me out.
Oh, no, don't do that.
I'm not allowed to touch. Yeah, I'm not allowed to touch anything on my phone, or it just kicks me out of StreamYard. We learned this before.
Also, JB has joined us in chat. Hello, sir. Welcome to chat. Do you guys have a preference of which one you want to jump into, or do you have something else you want to talk about? Maybe Jen, you want to talk about what's going on with Canada's farmers?
It's not our farmers; it's Trudeau.
What he's doing is against the farmers, right?
It's a food tax, so it's not directly the farmers. It's going to hit all of us. At least from the way he worded it. So my province doesn't really have this. We only really have a food tax when it comes to things like unnecessary food. Like if you were to eat candy or junk food, there's a little bit of a tax on that because it's not vegetables. You don't need that to survive. So they will tax you for that. But like basic food items aren't taxed. But he wants to put a tax on those. I don't know if that's across the board because, we're the same in sense of the like province to province, we're different from each other. But our food, like yours, has gone up phenomenally. Like not just a little bit, like you're talking like 9%, if not more, on all items, not just some items, all items. You can't just go and be a vegetarian for a month and think you're going to save money. It's not like that right now. So he's trying to blame the supermarkets for the raised prices. And we're all kind of like, no, you absolute retard. Kind of like how the fires haven't started because of your carbon tax. It's because of you. But that's he's just taking a lot of heat because Pierre's actually winning in the polls. He's very, very upset that his opponent is winning in the polls, and yet he's got so many people holding him up right now, and it isn't Canadians.
I think I mentioned to you before the show, I like Pierre.
He's got a head on his shoulders. He knows what he's talking about, and he can do fucking math in front of me and demonstrate that he knows what he's talking about. But like everywhere, like we've had the same problems you guys have, like housing crisis. We in the 10 years, it hasn't been 10 years with Trudeau. Like it was a little bit preemptive with pre-Trudeau. Everyone had a little bit of a crash in the market. Everyone was kind of struggling. And then with Trudeau, it's just been downhill. And that's not to say he hasn't had a good market. He's had a good market off and on, just like you guys have.
Yeah.
And then he just wastes it.
How are people who are not very fortunate going to handle a price increase on food?
They aren't. They already aren't. We're already struggling. Like everybody is pinching their belts. You know, they joke about the fat community agreeing all the time, but no, we're all pinching our belts right now because so a year ago, my groceries was $160 a week, which is a lot for 2 people. And it's doubled that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's same issue down here. We're spending like $350 to $400 a week, and it's like
you have a
that's
family.
Crazy.
Like
yeah,
that's why I'm so mad because I'm on my own and like yeah, it's tough for me, but I can make those decisions for myself. But when you have a family to deal with,
it's difficult. Dude, beef down here, like in Texas, beef has always been one of the cheaper options, like unless you're getting like super fancy one, right?
Yeah.
No, for a big roll of ground beef, like we used to buy in bulk to save money. And you buy the big, like the 10-pound roll and you split it up and freeze it, right? That thing is over $30 now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's not even 10 pounds anymore. They made it a little bit smaller and it's $30.
And it's just like, I'm saying this to you, Pop, because I know that you know exactly what I'm saying, but you have memories of growing up with T-bone steaks. And now it's like, that's a memory of the past. I don't even think
those are $30 on their own for like one.
For one.
We're not buying that ever again.
Like that's maybe for your anniversary if you're really lucky.
Right. You're being really
I mean, and you're
honestly, it's cheaper to go out to eat now than it is to make food at home.
And that's
like if you want to do a nice dinner, it's cheaper to go to like Outback or Chili's or someplace like that instead of making something at home.
It is actually maddening. It's depressing because it's part of the reason why people are struggling with so many things. Like, you know what I mean? You've got issues. You know exactly what I mean.
Yeah, dude, we're making the most money we have ever made since me and Chris have been together, which is 15 years today. This is our anniversary. And we're making the most money we've ever made. And shit, he's making more money than anyone else I know. And we still are, having to budget and worry about shit. And it's like, we're still kind of on the same scale we were 3 years ago when we were making less money. So
my girlfriend's
it's crazy.
My girlfriend's really big on strawberries. That's her snack fruit. So it's healthy and it's tasty. And got a pound of strawberries, $10.99 for a pound of strawberries.
Yep.
They were like $3 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh God, how bad eggs got there for a little while. They went back down because I think they realized people would just quit buying them.
Yeah, that's what'll happen.
Because eggs used to be like, if you're poor, that was one of the staples. You got like bread, sugar, eggs, milk, and it was stuff you could use, but it was cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like you go in there and the eggs are like, I think a 18-pack at one point at our Walmart was $10, and I'm like, fuck no.
I can see that, yeah. And I'm going to tell you something frustrating. I have seen videos of them dumping milk, to force a shortage.
Yeah.
Like they do that up here. They absolutely, if the farmer has excess milk, they won't let him sell it at discount it or something. They won't let him do it. They'll make them dump it. And I could see them doing that with things like eggs. I could see them doing things like that with because they've done it before.
When they got really big over here, one of our big chicken factories or whatever that did eggs.
Yeah.
They got the bird flu, and then 2 more burned down. And around here the eggs got really expensive for a while, and then all of a sudden it dropped back down. So it's still higher than it used to be, but it's not as much as it was during that time.
Are they shipping them in from other states? Is that what they're doing to compensate?
Now I think they got them, like the one that had bird flu, they fixed it. It's fine. I mean, technically they just killed off a bunch of birds and waited for the other ones to get older. And they fixed one of the ones that burned down. So honestly, I don't know if it was that or if it was just, wanting to. There's a lot of stuff in Texas burning down. I'm getting a little suspicious.
It's like that up here. It is really like that up here. Everywhere you go, And it's been too rainy up here for me to think that this is natural. Like, we've had fires for the last 6 years, off and on, but at the same time, so have you guys. Like, not necessarily Texas, but definitely the Midwest. And it's just been rain so much this year. And I keep telling them, like, if it's still burning up here with the snow, just know it's false. Like, also,
and I wish it was rain.
Also, a lot of the places that they were burning out in BC, it wasn't even hitting the trees. It was entirely property. It's stuff that they won't tell you, and I can't share them because photos on here disappear like smoke. If you see them, you got to capture them. But I've never made a habit of building folders because my country's so weird that I'd be afraid to. I'd be afraid to have a folder.
Oh, and just a quick thing. Because I'm on my phone, I can't see chat at all. So if anyone does say anything to me, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see you.
If anybody says something, I will read it for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, as far as the shortages are concerned, this reminds me very much, you know how much of a movie buff I am, but this sounds like Soylent Green. You know, there was a scene where a girl's eating some peanut butter from a jar, and the peanut butter on the side of it, the price for the peanut butter is like $20.
Yeah.
I can't say for the other provinces. When you go up north, it does become more pricey because goods are shipped in. If you come from a native community, they hunt. That's how they feed themselves. They hunt.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of the reasons why we were battling it out with Trudeau is because his gun ban was going to fuck over the native community 100% because they feed themselves. But a lot of the reasons, and yeah, I know it's funny to make fun of the bagged milk, but in my province, we don't sell that because we're cattle country. We're often referred to as the Texas of Canada because they think it's offensive to us or something. We don't give a shit. It means we make money.
So I always meant to ask you, where is bagged milk at? Because you said it's not where you're at, and you're in the center of the country, kind of. Is it more towards BC or?
You're going to find bagged milk in Ontario, but even then, they don't really carry it as much as they used to. But it's more of a northern Ontario, northern provinces kind of thing.
Oh, like so it's not east-west, it's north-south.
You got to think like a lot of those places are very remote. Like a lot of it's mountainous areas. A lot of places, they only really get shipments in through planes. Like truck drivers get paid a lot to go those routes because they're usually really dangerous.
Ice road truckers.
Yeah. So bagged milk, it's just more convenient. Like you can freeze it without it breaking. It lasts a little bit longer. It's not good though. Like I don't envy them having bagged milk because when I used to visit my grandmother in Ontario, because that's where it is meant to be frozen. Milk that's been frozen and then thawed, it works, but it doesn't taste as good as fresh milk.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste as good, but it works. If you don't have that kind of milk, you're using powdered milk, which trust me, that sucks too.
Oh yeah, that's horrible.
Never had powdered milk.
Because I grew up super poor, and it is awful. They say it's milk, but I don't believe them.
So where do you see? So where do you see this taxes thing going? Is it going to get pushed back, or is it going to go through, or what's the future of this?
I can't see Trudeau lasting for very long. For one thing, it's across the board. I was just on Twitter because I did chill out our stream and then promptly forgot what I was reading because I do that. But there's going to be a 1 million person march to Ottawa coming up. And yes, part of it is trucker, but it's not about the trucker convoy. It is 100% about the parents. And that's not white supremacists. Here's the thing, though. You could be brown, you could be Asian, you could be Native American, you could be black. And right now you're a white supremacist because you're against the the crap that they're pushing on our kids. You know, like I don't know if they know this, but the guy with the big titties probably was the breaking of the camel's back. You know, it's just we've had too much of it. And no, we don't hate LGBT. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have speakers from the Gays Against Groomers, because we're not against LGBT. We're against what is clearly a takeover of our country, what is an attack on our families, and we can't even provide a future for our kids. Like, I'm in my 40s, and yeah, I'm never going to own a house.
Yeah.
If I get anything, it'll be inherited, and that's just because my parents are brilliant, and I owe them everything. But most people are struggling right now, and anything I get is split between me and my brother. I can't imagine what it's like for people who have a whole family. Like, a lot of people are over here with the hope of building something, because Canada, we have a lot of potential. You know, Trudeau's not wrong in the sense that we have a lot of potential, but the problem with having a lot of potential is you actually have to build it first.
Yeah. No, like a lot of people are choosing not to have kids nowadays, and that's one of the bigger reasons. Like, if you can't even know for sure you're going to feed yourself the next week, how are you going to have a baby and buy diapers and formula and all that stuff? I mean, formula, a lot of it's over $50, you know, a can now. Like, I mean, I've literally seen $90 formula just for one can. And you know, it's crazy. And it's like, you know, my kids have both said they don't think they're going to have kids because, you know, that's one of the bigger reasons. And I'm like, yeah, I can't really blame you on that. You don't want to have kids knowing you probably won't be able to take care of them at some point. Like,
everything up here is geared towards a dark path. Unless you are so well up there and you're so up his ass, what they have in store for our kids is pure misery. It doesn't matter where you are. It's either you've completely neutered your child, and I'm not flinging scars at the trans community, because the trans people I know are all adults, you know, but they want to physically mutilate children up here. And if they don't, they're going to render them so poor that they can't afford to care for themselves. And they want us medically just begging them all the time. And we're just, we don't have enough people working. We have camps building up here in every city, not just Democratic ones, because we don't have that. It's too much, and there's not enough people who are able to bear that weight.
I mean, even down here, it's not just the Democratic cities. I know people like to show that a lot, but I'm in Texas. It's a red state for the most part, and we have them. I mean, in my city, we never used to have, like, we had like 2 homeless people in the whole city forever, and it's because they chose to be homeless. It was just the lifestyle they wanted, and they were there. It was just part of the city, you know. But now we actually have people sleeping in tents, and the cops make them move every 3 days. So the big street that's near me, you just see tents going up and down the street every 3 days. We have whole programs now. Like, we have most places around here have like food banks, but now the food banks have a program where the homeless people can come in and get lunches every day. That was never a thing. Like 5 years ago, that wasn't a thing. We didn't have anything like that. We don't have homeless shelters. We don't have any of that kind of stuff. And now we have like a lot of homeless people.
Well, you're in South Texas. Is North Texas the same deal?
I'm not in South Texas. I'm in the DFW area.
Oh, I thought you were down near Corpus Christi.
Mm-mm. Oh. There are other minions that are minion related people that are in, it's more southern Texas, but I'm in DFW.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very blue.
We aren't perfect.
Well, I mean, Dallas itself is blue. The DFW is just the whole area around Fort Worth and Dallas.
Yeah.
It's actually part of the reason why a lot of people didn't vote for the Conservatives the last time was legitimately what you were saying, Poppy. We weren't happy with what the Conservatives were doing because it seemed like the same party, you know, people having coffee together, having the same ideas.
Yeah.
Up here, we did actually have a bunch of liberals switch party. That's a thing. They don't tell you about it. They can switch parties on you. And when they switch parties, they're still bringing their ideals with them. Sure. It's just they think that by calling themselves a conservative, they can now push those ideals on you. It didn't work because we were like, yeah, it's failing. That's why we didn't want to vote for you when you were a liberal.
Honestly, I'm not big on politics, and one of the main reasons is I kind of see them as the same. They might have a few separate goals that they're fighting over, but for the most part, they all do the same shit, and they'll tell you a bunch of shit while they're getting elected, but then nothing happens when they're in office. They just like they're the same as every other politician. Politicians will just tell you whatever you want to hear to get their job so they can get money is the way I see it. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but they'll just say anything. They're like, oh, this one seems like a good way to get voted in, and they'll just babble about it. And then eventually, like, they'll get one or two things going that they said they will, and then nothing happens. So I don't trust politicians. I automatically think you're a bad person.
Yeah, for a long time, I always thought, why bother voting? Because it's just a different person that's going to screw you over. So why does it really matter?
Yeah. It's kind of the, you know, two wings, one bird situation that you hear people say. Like, it's just, they all seem the same to me,
to
be honest.
Yeah. I think the progressives have made it a point to separate themselves, though, because some of the things they're wanting to do is just so dramatically different from the conservatives.
Yeah.
Now there's a significant difference.
One thing I do have a strong opinion on, and a lot of people don't like it, is we need to stop having like 75 and 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds be in the. Stop it! Don't elect those people. They're gonna die soon. They all have dementia.
Or at the very least, I think there should be two rules that they should hold by. They need that cognitive test to actually mean something. And if, as a politician, you're making more money than what your salary is worth, and any deals that you're making outside of what you should be making, if those are illegal, those are the people that should be having inquiries done on them. And then not only should they be fired, they should be put in jail the way that the system is meant to work.
Yeah.
Like, they have to actually enforce that.
I mean, past the age of 70, I worked over 20 years. I know this. I have met the healthiest people with the best minds that are older. And I'm not saying they don't exist, but one cold will knock them out. Like, I'm not saying it will kill them either, but they will become very feeble, very weak, and their mind starts going instantly. Like, any little thing can make it where they have dementia. And I mean, it's a sad part of life, but that's just a part of life. Like, you can have someone who's perfectly able in every single way. Like, I knew a 95-year-old who used to take jogs every morning. This man was amazing. I was like, you are immortal or a freak or something, but it's, you know. And he got like a stomach flu, and yeah, he went downhill like really rapidly after that. It's just a part of aging. So even if they take all these tests before they get elected, any little tiny thing, like they could have a bad allergy season and have dementia.
Sure,
they get a UTI. Yeah, you can get a UTI. That's a big one. UTIs, especially with the women, yeah, that puts you into full-blown dementia after that. Just one urinary tract infection.
But here, if
that took my mom out. UTI took out my mom. Yeah.
It's very serious when you're older.
But here's the thing, though. Like, in your system, if that was the case, like, say you did elect somebody, there was the hope that, you know, they were going to be the one old guy to make it. And you shouldn't make that your precedent, obviously, like how everybody should be when you vote for them. Your vice president should actually mean something. Like, if they have to step down, your vice president should be somebody admired enough that if they had to take the place, it's not terrifying. I have that problem too. Like, if Justin steps down, the person underneath is more terrifying. And her grandfather was friends with Hitler, for the record. I just like saying that because it's true.
I just don't like it. In a lot of cases, what I see going on right now with politics would be considered elderly abuse in any other job line.
It is. I agree.
Like most of these people, some of them don't even look like they know they're there. They're confused, and other people are telling them what to say and do. Like, it's elder abuse at this point. Let this person retire. They have enough money. Let them retire. Let them go do what elderly people have been doing for ages, like go sit on a porch and drink tea and talk about their grandkids. Like, they don't need to be running a country.
The problem is they don't want to give up the power.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, but at a certain point, you got to admit that you're too old.
Yeah, but they know they're too old. They don't care. They're living for, at this point, they're living for the power of the position they're in.
Yeah.
So you have Feinstein and Pelosi, Trump, Biden.
Yeah.
And those are the older people.
The turtle man.
Federer?
The one that looks like a turtle.
Mitch
McConnell?
Yes. He looks like a turtle.
He's the Turtle Club president.
He's really in trouble. He's had two events or episodes or whatever live on TV. That's
very publicly. And he has people, if you notice, people step in immediately. So they know this is happening. It's happened before, just not live.
Yeah.
So they step in immediately. They know his brain's going, but they just keep pushing. And at this point, it's me. I have to question, are they the ones that are, keeping this going? Or is it like their family and the people that work for them that are keeping it going? You know what I mean?
I don't want to be that guy, but my fingers always point to the WF members, the WF, like the World Economic Forum people, because they all have ties to each other. And they're the background people that you don't, it's the people that you wouldn't think of that are actually doing shit. But I would say this is something that you could figure out if you figure out where they're keeping their money, because it's all going to Ukraine and then being shuffled out somewhere else at the moment. That's where they're doing it. Not saying that's where it's the only place they're doing it. It's just the one that's most obvious.
So you're saying the WEF is exerting force on American and Canadian government?
Yes. If it's not them, I think I think it's a coalition. I don't think it's just them. I just think that they have just as many ties. For us, the other group that I would point fingers at, and I feel bad for my neighbors because they're from there, but I'm pointing fingers at China. They had their fingers in our election.
Yeah, Assassin agrees with you. He thinks it's other people. But I don't know who that would be.
I don't know, but all I know is, like, we got to start getting younger people in there, because we literally have politicians running the government right now. They're the silent generation.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my generation. We were the silent generation.
Well, the silent generation's normally in their late 80s, early 90s.
It started in 65, didn't it? And I was born in 60.
No, that was boomers.
Oh, I'm a boomer then?
In Minecraft.
You're a boomer, boo.
I'm a boomer.
Yep, you're a boomer.
I can live with that.
That's what my grandma was too. Well, wait, no, maybe I'm wrong. Silent generation was before boomers. My grandma was a boomer.
Right.
And my mom was Gen X. So,
I thought the cutoff for boomers was 65.
I think it was 60. Yeah, it was a kind of a big one. So I think there's a lot of people who are boomers. So you might be in between, like boomer and Gen X. Or
well, I'm definitely not Gen X because from what I understood, the silent generation went up to 65. At 65, you became a boomer. That's what I thought it was. I mean, we can look it up online.
Yeah.
But it was something
look it up, because they've changed it a couple times. But silent generation was usually the people who gave birth to the boomers, so they're like well into their 80s and 90s. And I took care of people who were the generation before that, and I don't even know what the name of them were, but they were like 103 and stuff 20 years ago. But I mean, I would say, like, if you have silent generation people running the country, it's like, that's a little crazy. They need to just be relaxing.
The birth dates for boomers are 1946 to 1964. That's a boomer. So I am definitely a boomer because 64 is the cutoff point, and I was born in 62. Yeah. So the silent generation goes up to 1946. At 1946, it becomes a boomer. People become a boomer. So I'm definitely a boomer. I must have got the numbers wrong. So no big deal. I'm happy with being a boomer.
I'm a millennial, the people that everybody makes fun of.
Everybody used to make fun of, but as the newer generations come up, I think a lot of pressure has come off of the millennials and have settled more on Gen Z, because I hear a lot of people yelling about Gen Zs being programmed and being lazy and that kind of stuff. I don't hear that kind of stuff about millennials anymore.
Well, no, millennials don't get that kind of conversation. We're more of the still making fun of avocado toast, and the reason we're so broke is because we buy Starbucks. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. Even Gen Z hates on millennials a lot. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. It's just whatever. But my kids actually like a lot of millennials.
Yeah, I mean, there was a period where you were given a lot of crap, but I think later generations have turned out to be worse. So it's kind of taking the pressure off of you.
Well, we're still getting a lot of the millennials have ended this company, or the millennials are ending this, like, you know, like buying houses. And I was like, hey, you want to know why I haven't bought a house? It's like $600,000. Like,
for a shit house. It's not even a good house. It's a shit house.
It's not a good house. Yeah, it's like a house that was built in the 50s.
That you have to fix and then spend, like, you know, a couple hundred other grand on it.
Right. Like, literally, the new houses that are built in my area are over $1 million.
Yeah.
I don't own a house. I know I'm 40 and I don't own a house, but there's a reason for that. My parents, my stepdad and my mom, when I was a teenager, got a house in this area for $58,000. And now they're selling for, like, I can't even say how many times more than that. Because I even looked it up, that specific house. Last time it was sold, it was $400,000. It's the same house. It's just older now.
I haven't even evaluated the prices on my house. Well, I have a house in Virginia that I rent to a nice Japanese couple with 2 kids. Perfect for them. It's a gorgeous house. They're paying the mortgage off for me. And then I have the farm, which is shuttered now while I'm working on my mom's house, which is now mine too. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get rid of the farm or if I'm going to get rid of this house. Probably get rid of this house and go back to the farm. The farm has all the property. The property here is only 2 acres. It's kind of small.
Sorry, I had to laugh at the 2 acres is small. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, sir.
Well, looking at a house, if you compare my house to most houses, unless you're going into suburbia, you know, but anywhere that's in, like, sprawling area, like I'm in the mountains, man. There ain't nobody around. There's nobody within miles of my house, of my farm. Literally nobody within miles of it. So, but that's got a bunch of acreage here. I actually have neighbors here. And of all the neighbors, I have the smallest plot. I only have 2 plots. Everyone else has 3 or 4 and 5 plots around me. So I'm the smallest of everybody's. And my house, well, this house here is only 1 story. And most of the houses around me are 2 stories. So I'm like the little guy on the block. Uh-oh.
I said something as a joke to Sora, and now I have this mental image of my finance minister looking like a potato in a tube sock, because she looks like one. She really does.
A potato.
If I ever want to do something, yeah. If I ever want to do something mean to you, I'll send you some of the stuff she likes to wear in public.
Well, you said you picked a subject just so I'll yell at you. You want to talk about that?
The Sora has a little bit of style, then, is what you're saying.
It's okay. Listen, I appreciate that not all women come in the same shape and sizes, but we all know that polyester just isn't for everybody. Neither is Lululemon.
It's not for most people.
And she's just one of those women who, she's not that fat. I'm not that mean, but she's also not necessarily skinny. But for some reason, she wants everything to be so tight that it's kind of fleeing up her leg. And so you'll see her in these outfits and she's like splayed her legs in certain ways. And you're like, yeah, okay, listen, lady, even the women don't want to see that. And you know that she's doing this in Europe and in Asia. And I'm just like, this is why we're a laughing stock on the world scale. So she's a potato in a tube sock.
You're laughing so hard you sound like you need an inhaler, honey.
Oh, there's just some things you can't unsee.
Yeah. Now, most people shouldn't wear polyester. No. It's like the majority of the human race should not be wearing.
Or spandex, or
like if you're at home, wear whatever you want, but you know what you look like when you go in public.
Yes.
I'm not saying I dress like super nicely. I mostly just wear blue jeans and t-shirts. That's pretty much all I own. But
I'm just saying, I've seen women of her size dress really well and pull it off and look really professional, look really good, and be admired for it.
I'm a jeans and t-shirt guy myself. So unless I'm inside, then it's pajama pants.
Me too.
But
I like my jammies.
But if you wore that in the White House, would you want to elect you?
I would not mind hiring someone that wore pajama pants most of the time. I trust them more than the person in the suit, to be honest with you. At least they're comfortable while they're working.
They're honest.
They're honest. They're like, I came to work today, be happy. And that's how I feel that.
If I'm going somewhere like out of the house, like out of the neighborhood, like shopping at a grocery store or something like that, going to the post office, running errands, I'll wear jeans. But if I'm going down to get the mail, pajama pants are fine. My neighbors don't give a shit.
Yeah. Like I can't say a lot because when I did have a job, like I wore scrubs. So
well, you had a job where you had to.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have to. There were other times. They changed the uniform. I told them if they made me change out of my scrubs that I was quitting.
I think.
So I was allowed to wear scrubs even if, when they changed the uniform, because I was like, dead ass, I will just leave. I'm not going back to polo shirts. Fuck you.
I think I know what the problem I have with her is like, I'm aware of the fact that she spends most of her money on clothing that comes from like really high-end places. And yet somehow, some way, she still manages to look like a Walmart crazy person.
Yeah, I hate that when they're spending like $100 and it still just looks fucking awful. It's like, didn't anyone tell you? Like, you have no friends? Because you seem like your friends would be like, hey, you have a giant camel toe. Maybe change your pants. Don't buy those. Those are awful.
Well, can't you put something? Can't you put something to prevent that? I know it bothers women. Guys love it, but
it depends on how big it is. To be honest, because you don't even have to be fat. I know this is probably a weird conversation to have, but different women have different size mounds.
Yes.
So even if you're skinny, I've seen skinny women with mounds. That's just something that happens. It runs in my family. Some people have totally flat, some have a little, some have a lot. It's like boobies. They're all different, right? And so if you have a flat one, you never have that issue, really. If you have A medium-sized ones, they do have little things that you could buy to make sure even if you're wearing really tight clothes, it doesn't show. If you have a big one, there's not much you could do to hide it. It's there. You just
this is what happens when you have two women on the show.
We talk about nouns.
I don't. Okay.
You asked, sir. You asked.
Well, I just thought, you know, you'd say, oh yeah, you could put a pad that will prevent it. And I thought that's where it was going to end.
No, because if you're wearing a pad, everyone makes jokes that you have a dick.
Okay. I just didn't expect the conversation to continue on this topic.
Don't ask me questions. You know this. I'm autistic. I will. You will
tell the truth every time.
Every time, I will be completely honest. Monkey learned that and never asked me another question after he asked. Like, because you know, on the like Vagisil commercials, they talk about being fresh down there, and he asked, "Is there ever a time where women don't feel fresh?" And I gave him an answer, and he did not like it.
Well, it's like
I don't want the answer either.
The truth of the matter is the world has always had people that are kind of like in between normal people, people that are kind of just outstandingly beautiful, and then people that are just really misfortunate. And you do try to be nice to the misfortunate. You actually do, because we're all aware that we're not born the way we want to be. We just are. And even the pretty people don't have it easy, believe it or not. There's this myth about this pretty privilege, and it's like that's some people who get that. Other people, you know.
I think that it's a split thing. Like you get a lot of privilege because people will be very nice to you, but you know it's for a reason, and you get a lot of harassment. Like everyone says older women like my age are jealous of young girls. I am not jealous. I feel horrible for them. I pity them because they are being fucked with 24 hours a day. It's not cool.
I don't think it's all women. I actually think it's just some women have been raised with this idea that if you look a certain way, and I do think it's part of the young generation. Like I think we've had some harpies in our administration, and like I've known really beautiful women who were really nice, like always really nice, and I knew beautiful women who were legitimately harpies in disguise. And it's the same with women who are ugly. You know, there are some women who are ugly that are inside ugly too. And there's some who are ugly who are some of the most wonderful people on the planet, and you want to put them on a pedestal because they deserve acknowledgement. But I think that's the problem, is we've kind of raised a generation of people who judge you based off of their looks, and they don't have the patience to wait. You know, like you wait to have a conversation with someone to figure out if they're actually a dick or not.
Yeah, I've always had that issue with the like meeting people and they tell you everything about them, like on Twitter, you know, they want you to put like your pronouns, you're this, you're that, like everything you believe in your little intro thing. And I'm like, well, what's the point in talking to you now? Because I already know everything you think's important about you. I don't really like, we could just have a conversation. That would be nice. That would be good. Like, I don't know. People don't do that shit anymore.
It does work a little bit the same way I see it from my perspective too, is that where I live is there's not many guys. I'm trying to bring this back to one of our topics. There's not very many tall guys where I live. Nobody around me is. Even delivery people, nobody is anywhere near 6 foot, and I'm 6'3".
I was about to say, I thought you were taller than 6 foot.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm 60. I'm gray hair, gray beard, you know. I don't have a pot belly yet, but I'm sure that'll eventually come. And I still see out of the corner of my eyes people looking at me, you know.
Well, I mean, like, if you're the one tall person in town, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't like that extra attention.
Yeah.
It bothers me. I'm like, what are you looking at? Stop looking at me. You know, maybe I'm weird, but even women, I'm not even close to your age. What are you looking at me for?
Yeah. I mean, around here, it's not as unusual to have tall people, but Chris still gets looks when he goes out, and people always act scared of him. Because,
everybody in Texas is tall.
Well, not everybody.
Everything in Texas is big. Everything is big.
We have short people. You can ask some of my family members. They're very mad at me for existing.
Yeah, it's funny to hear you stick up for the short people when you're not one of them.
No, well, I mean, I don't think I'm tall, but that's because I grew up around a lot of guys who, like, my step grandfather was 7 foot tall.
Are you comfortable sharing your height?
Well, okay. Recently, I remeasured, and I think I shrunk a little. I am 5'9.5", but that could just be the arthritis, because normally I measure out at 5'10". You
are my perfect height. If I go looking for a girl, I'm looking for 5'9", nothing below 5'9", but 5'9", because 5'9" plus a couple inches of heels means that I don't have to bend over to any great length when we slow dance.
Oh yeah, no, that's why Chris loved it when we first started. Like I won't say dating because we never dated. I don't date, but when we first got together, because he had only been with like women that were like 5'5" or less before me, and because he was 21, they were mostly teenagers. Yeah. Yeah, he was very impressed that he didn't have to like squat to give me a kiss.
Yeah,
and for a while there, his main thing was running up and tackling me, and he thought it was hilarious. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, I never could do this. Yeah, he's like, I could never do this before. They were so tiny, they'd go flying off.
Yeah, you're on the tall side too, aren't you?
I'm 5'6", so not really, but I'm not short either.
Well, the average height is 5'3", right? So 5'6" would put you taller than a lot of women.
I can reach most things, but I was eyeballing Poppy and going, the extra few inches would get me to that top shelf. So
I like how you measure. I measure by how high I can reach, not by how tall I am.
That's woman measurement. Do I have to ask people to get shit for me? That's how you know if you're tall or short.
And it's not really a resentment towards men, because in all honesty, it's not about not wanting to ask for help. I just don't want to wait for you.
I'll tell you, it's just a stubborn thing. Willow, my daughter, she's 5'5", so she's the shortest one in our direct family, in our household when she lived here. She doesn't live here anymore, but she still comes over all the time. And we bought her stools, and she would get really mad about it. Like, she would scream and stuff. And I one day I looked at her and I said, honey, think of this as a I don't need you, bitch stool.
Oh, there you go.
If you use this stool, you don't need us to do anything. We don't need to get anything from you. We can put stuff up as high as we want to, because Chris is like 6'3", 6'4", so we tend to have stuff up high a lot, and it drove her nuts. I'm like, this is a I don't need you stool. And we actually wrote that on the stool.
Yeah.
We wrote that on the stool. I don't need you, bitch. And so then she would use it after she realized that she wouldn't have to ask for help anymore if she had it. But yeah, but I know that this kind of interludes in the conversation of women wanting guys that are 6 foot. And my thing on that is, like, I thought about it. It's like, if you ask somebody random on the street what they're looking for in a person, they're gonna describe their perfect person in their head.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't date people outside of it. Like, yeah, I prefer taller guys. I have a very specific reason for that. I dated shorter guys before, and their angry chihuahua energy made me want to kill them in their sleep.
Well, it's the ones that bother me. See, everyone's allowed to have their preferences. I don't really give a shit. But when a girl who's 5'2" says, "Oh, he must be at least 6'3", like, I'm like, do you know what you're setting yourself up for? Because that, like I said, it's only 14% of the population, and that's all men. And I can't find any stats to say if you whittle it down to just heterosexual men, because that's what we're talking about, women and men. So he's got to be heterosexual. So the number is even smaller than 14.
That seems like such a little number to me, since I know so many tall people, but maybe that's just because of where I live or something.
We have to understand this is a global number.
Yeah. Remember, well, yeah, because there are a lot of countries where they're much smaller.
Yeah. Factor in Japan, factor in China, you start adding those countries in. A lot of the Asian countries are pretty short.
Because I was like, if you did just Texas, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be that low of a number.
No, everything's large in Texas. I think we covered that already. Everything.
But Yeah, but I mean, you know, there's a lot of like, just because you say this is your preference, that doesn't mean that's. There are some people very strict on it. Like, I won't date a person unless they have these specific qualities.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's not like you find someone you really like and you deal with it. The only reason I stopped dating guys that were shorter than me is because they'd be super nice to me when we were alone. And then the minute we were in public, they acted embarrassed to be with me and became like super macho dudes. And they were dicks.
Overcompensating.
Yeah, because you're with the tall weirdo, you know, like, and it made them feel less manly or whatever when I was standing up. And it's what we get. You know, Chris calls it little short man syndrome. I call it Chihuahua syndrome, because they get really rude and aggressive, and you know, everybody hates me because I'm short. No, everyone hates you because you're a dick.
There's a video that made its way around TikTok and eventually Twitter for a while. It shows this really attractive man and this really attractive Asian woman. And they're at a distance and they kind of look at each other and then they kind of smile. And then they start dancing away. They're apart from each other and they start dancing, and, you know, they're kind of making a connection. And he walks up to her, and when they get face to face, she's like 1.5 feet taller than him. So they both stop and they both look at each other, and he runs away, and you think, oh, that's a shame. He comes back with a ladder.
Yeah.
And takes a couple of steps up the ladder, and they start dancing again. It was just very wholesome.
Yeah. Like, if you don't have an inferiority complex about your height, or if you don't like, for the most part, I know a lot of people think Chris's height is a good thing, but a lot of times him and Angel's boyfriend's taller than Chris. My youngest, her boyfriend's taller than Chris.
Wow.
And they get very self-conscious about it, because, you know, you're in a crowd and everybody's a foot under you. You're very noticeable. Yeah. Everybody's staring at the giant, and you know, it does make you self-conscious. I think if you're on either end of the spectrum, like if you're average, it's not something you think about much. But if you're really tall or really short, you know, it gives you complexes.
The end of that video, she turns around, he jumps on her back, and she carries him away.
Yeah.
Very cute.
I had a guy friend I used to do that with. He thought it was funny.
Can you imagine me in Japan?
Yeah. Well, since I've pictured Chris there, dude, we went to the Chinese part of town one time, and it was hilarious because we could find each other no matter how far apart we were.
Over top everybody else, like periscopes sticking up in the sea of the people.
Yeah. Because everybody was like around 5 foot.
For as paranoid as I am here, I don't think I can make it in Japan. I'd be like, everybody be looking at me, but like, I'd lose my mind.
Oh, dude, they also have fat laws over there, so everybody's really mean to you if you're even a little bit chunky. Yeah. Do not like anybody who's even kind of chubby. They are really rude.
I've heard that they're really, really rude to people who are A, black, and B, fat.
Yeah, they're not super fond of white people either, but they put up with white people better than a lot of other races. But if you're even slightly chunky, they'll just publicly make fun of you. And they will, like, there's restaurants that won't let you come in.
I think it's a derogatory term in Japan called gaijin. People who are foreigners. It's not a nice way of saying it.
They don't really like it. I've seen people on TikTok and YouTube and stuff that moved over there for work and stuff. They're like, I've lived here for 7 years now. I am still not considered part of the culture or any. They do not let you. I will forever just be a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I am even if I live here the rest of my life, I am a foreigner. I will always be treated like a foreigner. There's always going to be places I can't go because I'm not of this country. And so, yeah, they're very, very strict on who they like.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you finished your thought. You were still finishing. I
did. Well, they're very, on who they like is what I said. They're very picky about that.
Mm.
I could see that getting worse, and I am blaming TikTok for that, or at least the influencers that have gone over lately for their holidays, because they're just. Americans aren't the worst. I would say a lot of the Western countries have picked up shit that they used to make fun of you guys for.
Yeah.
a lot of the folks that have gone over there are just bringing the worst parts of it.
Yeah, like I remember it was a little while back, but what are the Paul brothers? Was it Jake that went over there and made a huge scene and then wasn't allowed back? Yeah, he went over there and filmed a dead body and then was throwing squid on people's cars and stuff and acting out in the streets. And
jackass.
And he's not the only one. Like,
no,
there's been a few influencers that are really just being obnoxious or trying to bring the worst parts of American culture with them. And I don't mean that like I like that, because a lot of the stuff that I see makes me sad. Like it does, because I grew up with a lot of American culture. Like your TV was amazing, and my cousins are from there.
Yeah, there are good parts for sure.
You know, and so when I see stuff like that, it's from the perspective of somebody who's aware of the fact that y'all built that shit. It's depressing to see it in shambles. It's the same as up here. Like when I see the stuff that I grew up with the way it is now, I'm just like, oh, we've made poor life choices. And then we sent them to Japan, and Japan's like, you know, you can take them back. No, these are shit. You can take them back. We want your money. That's what they want. Japan's like happy with us spending money on stuff that they make for them, and then we can go home.
Well,
I'd still go.
Well, ladies, it is after 10 o'clock.
Yes, I know. I have a daughter in here saying she's hungry.
We covered almost none of the stuff that we had on the list, but that's fine. That's fine.
I derail everything. I'm sorry.
No. That's not unusual. General test that we don't always get to all the topics on the Wednesday show either. We get talking, and it's more fun to just chat with friends than it is to go over the topics. They're just there for a backup, really.
Yeah.
I don't spend a whole lot of time looking for topics. It's usually just things I find on CNN, or yes, I do go to CNN and Fox News and Twitter and that kind of stuff. So it's no big deal. But
yeah,
I think it's time we get going.
You
So, guys, have anything else before we close out the show?
No, I'm good. I'm going to go do my anniversary stuff now.
Okay. Well, Cheryl's going to take us out tonight. Thanks, fam, as always, for chatting with us tonight. If you can't wait for the next show, remember that Minions are live every evening, including weekends, with most shows starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Host and start times are linked in the description down below. We did broadcast tonight on Rumble, although we broadcasted to basically nobody over there. That's okay. I just want to make sure that we use Rumble as much as we can. So that's fine if nobody's watching. It's nice to have something to go back and look at later. We will be back next Friday. The same crew, because Sanguine will still be out of town, at 9 p.m., like the Friday usually is. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.